Chapter 8. Wednesday morning came up bright, brisk, and clear. Tony charged downstairs, life jacket on. Grandma was setting out breakfast. Solo time, Tony announced. Grandma looked at him thoughtfully. I did speak to Chris, and yes, she did say you could go out alone. Can I? Grandma frowned. Tony watched her anxiously. Then she said, Tony, we'll make an agreement. This first time you go out alone and I want you to stay close. Do we understand that? Okay. Then, after 1 hour, I'll go out to the end of the dock. You can come by and show me if you didn't drown. I'll be fine. You don't have to worry. That's our agreement, Grandma said firmly. Tony ate a hurried breakfast, then ran down to the dock. There he hauled the Snark out and hoisted the mast and sail. He was about to jump in when he remembered the other things he was supposed to do: tie the sheet to the tiller, check the telltale, as well as make sure the bailer was there. Tony worked slowly, calmly. He made sure everything was in order. When he was ready, Tony dropped the dagger board, pointed the Snark's bow, pushed her out, jumped in, and hauled back on the sheet. Immediately jibbing, he cut along the breeze. It was all a bit clumsy, but to his relief, the boat moved, and there was one big difference. Without Chris's weight, the Snark moved much faster. At first it scared Tony. He was actually glad he had promised to return in an hour. That way he wouldn't be tempted to go too far. During the hour, Tony did what he was supposed to do: sailed back and forth, practicing all the things Chris had taught him. Bit by bit, his confidence grew. At the end of the hour, he sailed back to the harbor. Grandma was nervously pacing the end of the dock. As soon as she saw Tony, she brightened and gaily waved a white handkerchief as he went by. Tony returned a big grin. Come back for lunch, she called. Okay. Tony swung around and brought his attention back to the harbor. As he did, he noticed that the couple looking for the treasure was also there. They were getting their motorboat ready. Right off, it occurred to Tony that he might be able to see where they were headed. That would be something worth bringing home for lunch. Waiting for the couple, he tagged back and forth at the mouth of the harbor. When they came, their motorboat burst out loud and clear, leaving curls of pearly white foam. Tony cut away quickly, trying to avoid the heavy wash of waves. When he saw where the couple was headed, not out into the Sound, but down the coast, he turned in pursuit. Tony knew there was no way he could match their speed. He could only follow and watch from an increasing distance. But that he did. He saw them go right across, almost in a straight line, from Joshua Creek Point to what Tony remembered as Clark's Point. Instead of landing as he thought they might, he saw them veer off and go past Harrison Point, then move among the Thimble Islands. After that, he lost sight of them. When the motorboat disappeared, Tony was off Sachem Head. He wanted to continue, but remembered his promise to Grandma that he would stay close to home. After a moment's indecision, Tony told himself that he had already gone back to the harbor. This was his second time out. He hadn't made any promise about that. Gripping the tiller tightly, he aimed for the Thimble Islands. After reaching Clark's Point, Tony sailed toward Harrison Point. From there, he traveled south in the direction of the islands. It wasn't long before he reached the first of them, the one called Narrows Island. Among the islands, Tony discovered that the wind shifted constantly. First it came from one direction, then another. More than once, while Tony was trying to figure the wind, the Snark's staggerboard smashed into a submerged rock. The jolt was as unnerving as it was unexpected. Tony couldn't imagine how any bigger ships could get through. They would sink fast. As Tony sailed the Snark on, twisting and turning among the islands, it was very hard to see very far. Tony had a feeling he was in a maze. Sometimes he'd cut around and find himself in the Sound. Then he'd head back in among the islands only to come out on another side, but which side he didn't know. Still, Tony was happy just to be sailing. He loved the way he could move in, around, between the many islands. He forgot about the people in the motorboat. He didn't pay particular attention to where he was or where he was heading. Only the occasional submerged rock caused him concern. It took a while before Tony realized he had lost track of how long he had been out. All he knew was that he was starting to feel hungry. It was time to go back home. Cutting around a couple of the islands, Tony kept thinking he'd get a clear view of the Swallows Bay harbor. He did not. Puzzled, he moved further in the direction he had been going, only to see a whole new group of islands. He reversed himself. Now it was as if he had entered into a new maze. Gradually, he began to grasp what had happened. He was lost. Dun dun dun!